Hello and welcome to the Listening Post's unboxing channel on YouTube. Today, yes, we'll be unboxing Pro-Ject's brand new EVO 2 turntable. But what I'm going to do is do that unboxing a bit of a fast forward and concentrate on the things you need to look for as far as its setup. Nevertheless, the packaging's designed in a new way to ensure that the packaging is now recyclable. So you'll see that. But if you open the unit, again we're focusing on how to set it up. Discard the cardboard, it's done its job. This is the setup as far as a colour brochure. You're welcome to spend some time on that. But you need to firstly identify all the parts, and the first is the Perspex lid. Put that off to one side. Discard the bag that's protected it. The next is the set of interconnects. Now these are held with a red twist tie. You can get rid of that. The interconnect itself unfolds nice and easily. It's clearly got the earth straps on each end, and on one end yellow tags with arrows. It's important to understand that those arrows are identifying that this is going into the amplifier, meaning this is the end for the turntable. Then most importantly, and this is where the EVO and maybe even the standard Debut failed, is that some of the accessories were buried and often lost. What they've done with this new packaging layout is ensure that all of the things you need are really clearly easy to identify. Ripping in and getting to the turntable quickly. Now this one is in black. The polished cloth bag is removed. The turntable put off to one side. Again, we quickly bury it. Okay. Dig out some of the accessories required. Now it's worth noting one of the most important little pieces for the New Zealand market is actually hidden in the bottom of the unit, and that's the New Zealand power adapter. And then you've got the Platter with its felt mat. So, get rid of everything you don't need. Get yourself a nice clear workstation. The very first and easiest thing to do before you start assembling the unit is to simply take off this red plastic tape that has held the cartridge cover, the stylus cover, on the cartridge. Take it off very carefully and discard it. It's done its job. Don't keep that kind of thing hanging around. The second thing to do is identify all of the accessories that you are likely to need from the accessory pack. This is the 15-volt power supply, and you'll see not one, not two, but three completely useless adapters. That's why I highlighted that extra little bag that is down on the bottom of the packaging. In New Zealand and Australia, you need to go find that, otherwise it simply won't work. The adapter clicks into place really easily with a nice firm click, and if it needs to be removed there's a little button and some arrows. Nevertheless, that's the 15-volt power supply that you will need to operate the turntable itself. Something you can ignore for a moment is the cartridge alignment card and the 45 adapter. Get rid of them, you won't need them. There's also a little bit of packaging. So you get the Counterweight, get it out of its packaging, and you get the anti-skate weight. Now that's clearly labelled. Now be very careful when getting the anti-skate weight out of the bag. The anti-skate weight is a tiny little wee piece of filament fishing line and a little weight dangling on it, as you can see. In fact, the camera probably doesn't even pick up the tiny little loop that's actually in the fishing line, allowing it to do its job. Again, we'll put that off to one side. Get rid of the packaging for the power supply and grab the belt. And put all of those accessories. So you need anti-skate weight, counterweight, power supply, interconnect, lid, platter and felt mat. Then there's some very light assembly that's required. The first and most obvious is to put the belt on. And you should try and always ensure that the Pro-Ject logo is out and upright. Easiest is to put it on the central pulley wheel first, and then stretch it with your thumb and fingers over the drive pulley of the motor. You should always give it a little slow rotation just to make sure that it sits nicely in the lathed motor pulley, and just that everything sort of starts to move as it should. The next is to put the Platter on. It's their new aluminium one, and the felt mat, and again it starts to look very much like a turntable. The next is just a bit of pre-assembly associated with both the counterweight and the anti-skate weight. Now, the anti-skate weight I would typically, and I would always recommend you add that last after you've done this part of the setup. So the final disassembly is to remove the red twist tie that helps protect the arm in transit and stops it from bouncing around. You can discard that or keep it in a drawer for that day you might need to move around. Then just basically check the operation of the unit by moving the arm around and ensuring that it's kind of operating as it should. Check that the raise and lower element of it is operating, as you can see, which is part of that sort of oil dampened approach, so you can raise the arm quickly and then it will lower slowly onto the record. Once you've checked some of the basic things, it's time to best try and set the tracking force. Now this is done in 2 steps. And the first, and please, you can always use a digital stylus gauge, but I'll attempt to do it manually at this time. You're welcome to buy or borrow a digital stylus gauge from your local retailer. Nevertheless, the first thing you do is use your finger to remove the stylus protection plastic cover. Just put that off to one side. The next is to put it into a neutral location, away from the bracket that holds the arm and away from the platter where it could potentially damage the stylus. And it's at this point you lower the arm so that it's freely sort of moving around. The first step is to give it a neutral balance, and that's by moving the counterweight back until the arm sort of floats. The concept is it's kind of like balancing a seesaw. You need a 0 point. And you'll see at this point it's actually floating around. It's sort of under its own sort of balance at this point. And that's where you look over the top, and again please hang around for some of the close-up photographs. At the top of the arm there's a very clear sort of white stripe, and that is where you then use this inner ring. I'll take this off for a second to show you. This part of it, the counterweight, is independent of the ring. You can see me moving. This is just a gauge. So you can put that on at any point. It can say whatever you'd like to start with. But once you've reached the 0 point of the arm being nicely balanced, that's when you want to hold the counterweight and the adapter ring and rotate it around to a 0 point. Now when it reads 0, you've literally told it that you've got a 0 grams of tracking force. And then you slowly wind both of these things together until you end up with the desired tracking force. Now for the cartridge it's 2 grams, so you rotate this around until it's 20 on its scale. And at this point you actually see that the arm has a known drop to it. There's a little bit of force applied now, and it will easily give you the tracking force required. Please have the confidence that you don't need to be microscopically absolutely perfect when it comes to tracking force. You get it about right, and that gets the ball rolling. That's when you can start having a little bit of fun with it. And then you can always adjust it a little bit heavier or a little bit lighter, depending on the style of music that you're listening to, or whether or not you've got a grainy effect or maybe too much of a pronounced bass. Nevertheless, the prescribed tracking force for this arm is 2 grams. And again, borrow a digital stylus gauge and you can get it as accurate as you feel like it if you need to. From there, it's about connecting a few things. Now, I mentioned the anti-skate weight. Now these are very commonly lost as everybody doesn't take them off before moving. But the last thing that we assemble is the anti-skate weight. And if I just quickly put that there and then try and spin it around for you, you'll see that it sits dangling off to one side. It's using gravity. It's a very constant force in our lives, and it means that there's just a little bit of pressure the right way on the arm as it tracks across the record. The next part is really just about finalising the assembly, and that's really easy. It starts of course looking just like a turntable when you put the lid on. When you do so, by the way, it's important that you don't let one side drop down completely. You should sort of nurse it in, otherwise you can sort of torque it and it won't slide down evenly. Nevertheless, again, once it's on, check some basic operation. As far as connecting the rest of it, it's very straightforward. You've got the recessed 15 volt here, and then you've got the interconnects. Now, a little word of advice when connecting the interconnect. Because you've got a ground that is easily operated with your finger and thumb, what you should probably do is attach the ground first and then the interconnecting cables. Now they're clearly labelled, although this one's white to its black or negative, and this one's obviously red to red. The reason that you would connect the earth first is simply because it's so much easier to do without the interconnect causing your fingers to sort of lose the ultimate in grip. So there we have it. Correctly balanced, tracking force done, anti-skate weight attached, all of the assembly done as far as the belt, the platter, these types of things, and then both the connection, the interconnects and the power supply connected. So there we have it. You're up and running. Nice and easy. This brand new Pro-Ject EVO 2 turntable unboxed and set up here at the listening post in Christchurch, New Zealand. Thanks for watching. If you want to see more, subscribe to our channel.